Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. Thank you for being here today. The topic today is one that maybe does not apply to every single person who's in our community of women over 60, but it's a state of mind more than a word. It's retirement. And life after retirement can be confusing and contradictory and challenging and beautiful. So here I am. It's a sunny morning. I'm drinking my cup of English breakfast tea and just relaxing and remembering that this was the kind of life that I was living as a student. And I never actually went to school full time. I wasn't a full time college student. I was working full time and going to school in lunch breaks and in the evenings. And it took me 6 years, and I had a different student experience than many of you did, but I think there's a comparison to be made that the life after retirement is very similar to those days as a student before we entered into our career that just gave us so much joy. And there's a lot of really cool comparisons that we can make. Now, Liza Dunkel wrote this article a while ago, actually, and I've read it many times. And I know Lisa, I've met her in person. She came to Europe before the pandemic. This is many years ago, and we had an incredible day of chatting and talking about life and our similarities. We're very similar in our personalities, and this article just rang a bell. It was such a resonance for me. But anyway, transition to retirement is challenging. And in the article that Lisa wrote, it's like a two-year experience after retirement. She finally started thinking about what it meant and how she could make full use of it. And I think a lot of people experience this. If you go back and look at your career and remember the nameplate on the door or on the desk, and maybe you managed people, perhaps there are people that you worked for, and just the structure of your life was so much different than it is today. And it's that structure, I think, where we get some sort of similarities to our student life, and or maybe if you didn't go to college, the time when you were preparing for going into a career role, it's just fascinating. But anyway, it was interesting. I was thinking this morning about my high school years, and for me, they were perhaps a little bit different than many of you. First of all, I want to show you some pictures. This is my picture. I want to show you the picture with my dear friend Mary, who I'm standing next to. But this is I think it must have been my high school graduation picture, or around that time when I was about, here I am. Can you see? I must have been about, look at the back a bit. Look at those legs. I had legs. When I was about 16, 17. But I had very super, super long hair. And that was me. And then that was the kind of normal Margaret living her life in front of the world. And then this picture, a painting that someone did of me when I was a little bit older, maybe 19 years old, is a bit different. So between that picture and this picture, my mom died. And I was very young, and I think this picture really captures the kind of the ennui, the kind of, sadness of my life. And even right now, like 60 years later, I feel it. So this was my life before I went into the workplace. And so I would consider that kind of the years that Lisa's talking about in this article. And I think there's some real truths here. And I hope I can inspire you, because this time of your life it has so many qualities to it that can liberate and free and open your mind to new things. So she said that Lisa gives this great image of, like, she went back to the time when she was in her college dorm, and she was reading Dostoevsky for her Russian lit class, and then looking over to, The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann for her philosophy class, and just thinking, oh, this is so wonderful, and just learning, like just absorbing. And then her roommate would come in and say, hey, Lisa, let's go for a cup of tea or coffee. And she'd say, of course. And off they went for coffee in the middle of the day, no schedule, just had to read the book at some point and get it done. And I love that image, because I even though, as I said, I didn't go to a college, I didn't have a dorm on a college campus, I know that feeling of just sitting I used to sit by the creek. I lived in Boulder, Colorado. And I used to take my books after work down to the creek, and we had this river kind of creek that ran through my house, and I would sit and read my books for hours until it got too dark, and then I'd have to go in. But that was the life that we lived during as a student. We had things to learn, we had things that to do, but they weren't in the same structure as when we started work and got into that routine of, and also the routine of perhaps being married, having children, working on that kind of work-life balance reality, which was not easy. And that, all those things overtook us as we went into our career phase and now into retirement. So again, that reading when you want, reading for fun, reading for pleasure and for knowledge is what you can enjoy now in retirement. And this is what Liza goes on to explain in the article, some of the comparisons of things that she did when she was a student that she can now do as a senior student in your senior class. So she said, as a student, she had like a free, fairly minimal, relaxed schedule, not that kind of 9 to 5 or 7 to 5 or whatever your job routine was. She could take a nap in the afternoon, stay up late at night. And now when you're in your retirement mode, you can do the same. You can read, you can knit when you want. You can wake up at 3 in the morning and make a cup of tea and have a cookie. Or whatever you want, as long as you do the things you love, you can do them in your own time. And in a way, that's very much what it was like as a student. You had tasks, job projects that you had to hand in, but you could do them in your own time as long as they got done. And that's how it is now. Now, I know a lot of you are watching this thinking, oh, I wish that was my life. I'm still working. I'm 65 and still going to work every day, 9 to 5. Whatever it might be. And, that's not my world yet, but it will sometime in the future be. I mean, you will decide to either move into a new job, something that's less structured, do your own thing, start your own business. A runny nose. I think I'm getting, I don't know, it's not spring. How can I be getting seasonal allergies? But anyway, it felt like that. So anyway, learning new things at your own pace when you get through that work structure. But she says now she can go to poetry readings, she can go to art gallery openings, wine tastings, whatever her heart desires. And that's her life in retirement or in semi-retirement. Actually, start to think about it. I'm not even retired myself. I'm working now doing this for you and I love it. But I still do have days, hours in days where I just feel more free and I can do things to my own pace. So she also talks about travel and says that when she was a student, she loved to travel. She wanted to travel all the time, but of course had no money. That was the student life. She was working and going to school, and that was, she did not have the money to travel. Now in retirement, we have time and hopefully a little money to be able to travel. Now I know there's some of you out there thinking, I wish, that would be wonderful. And, then you have to look at the spectrum of your costs and your income and make some decisions. You can still do bus travel and train travel relatively cheaply. There are so many cool groups now where you can do Airbnbs. You can share, do a share room, trade room. There's lots of online services where you can house share. Go to Paris for a week while someone comes to live in your Chicago apartment. But I'm just kind of deviating here a bit. But there's ways, if you really do want to do some travel and some exploration as you're getting older, and you don't have the income, there are ways, but Lisa says, of course, in her situation, she was fortunate to save and work hard and now has the money to travel. I know she goes on her Hurtigruten cruises, which I went on too. And it's like those Nordic, Norway cruises where you're not dressing up or, just relaxing and seeing the magnificent Arctic Circle and all those places. But she's an adventure traveler. And that's kind of, you can be your own style of anything. I think that's really wonderful. So her senior student weekends are different. You remember when you were a student, and again, even when I was working and going to school, the weekends were not like I had to really rush. I mean, I may have had, a project that was due or an article or assignment that was due on Monday, but it was never the same as when I was in that work period where I was juggling, 2 kids and a husband and visitors and agendas and events related to work, some of them related to my family life, kids' activities and so on. And there was such a structure that Sunday became like a stressful day. I'm even stressed just thinking about it. I mean, it was great, of course, but it was just not like the relaxed weekend that you had as a student. But transfer that forward now, you've got more time. You've got more time, no more cooking for kids. I was just actually looking at my notes because I'd made a note to say tuna melt, which is, you know, when I was a mom working at very, very long hours and traveling a lot and just stretched, my kids were lucky if they got a tuna melt when they got home from school. And my son even today says, "But Mom, they were the coolest tuna melts ever." And you tried to reassure me that I didn't actually make food for them. They didn't have to eat, you know, Cheerios for dinner, but they did have a limited experience of cuisine. Let's put it that way. But anyway, the whole thing, her article made me laugh. It made me smile. I hope that you take a moment to read it. But do you think there's some truth in this? That being in the after retirement mode is very similar to when you were a student or pre your career commitments? I think it's a great idea, and it's a great image. And I still look at this picture and think, my gosh, I really looked different then. My hair was darker, it was longer, it's down my back. Wow. Anyway, I hope that you've got some good memories of your student years. Maybe it's all been different for you, but I'd love your feedback. You know, how was your transition into retirement? If you retired, if you haven't, what are your plans? Do you think there's some truth to this idea of student life being like retirement life? Life as a senior student? Again, thank you so much for being here, everybody. Please subscribe if you love this video and want to know when more are coming out. Ring the bell. I do 4 videos every week, and it's just lovely to be here with you. Thank you so much for all your support of 60andMe. Take good care of yourselves. Go out and just enjoy this beautiful world that we're in. We're so blessed to have this opportunity to be together. So take good care, lots and lots of love, and stay safe and strong. Bye-bye for now.